Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to have you here today. I'm Richard Kerslake from the FIDO Alliance, and we're going to spend the next hour talking about driving automotive innovation with FIDO standards and certification. And I'm joined by two co-presenters who I think will give you a very interesting insight to what they're doing within the automotive industry with respect to FIDO technologies and FIDO standards. So again, my name is Richard Kerslake. I'm the Market Development Manager for Connected Standards. So just a couple of housekeeping things. All of the attendees are on listen mode. If you have questions, please pop them in the question widget. We are recording the webcast and we'll post it. You'll get an email so you can check and watch pieces of it later if you so wish. And at the end, we have a survey. So if you have time, it would be great if you stayed on just to complete the survey. In addition to myself, we're joined by Joel Demano from Theme, and Joel is focused very much on biometric certification, and he'll go into some detail about the work that Theme is doing with the FIDO Alliance. And of course, they're a very active member of the FIDO Alliance. And then the final presenter will be Andrew Cameron, who's a technical fellow at General Motors. So I'm going to kick off with just a couple of slides. I know most of you know the FIDO Alliance very well, but for those of you that are new to us, just a very quick reminder, we're an open industry association with a focus on removing or reducing the world's resilience on passwords. And whether that's passwords for humans or passwords for devices, we're addressing both of those. And in terms of membership, we have a very active membership at around, I think, north of 300 members. And if you just even glance through some of the names at the top, the Amazons, the American Expresses, the Apples, Cisco's, Microsoft, semiconductor companies such as Infineon, you see we have a very diverse ecosystem of members, and that really brings incredible value to folk that join the Alliance as they get a chance to work and interface with those companies. So with that, I'm going to start with a short kind of 15-minute presentation, really talking about the FIDO standards at a very high level. We could obviously spend an hour just talking about one particular standard. We're not going to do that. We're going to fly over at a high level, but really talk about automotive applications. So where does FIDO fit into the automotive world? So with that, I think let's just talk about the industry itself. And clearly, the automotive industry is going through an incredible transition. If you go back in time, even 10, 15, 20 years, broadly, it was built up. Vehicles were mechanical systems that were interconnected, and now they're interconnected cyber physical platforms. So vehicles themselves are changing dramatically. We see it every day on the streets. We're seeing electrification, we're seeing software-defined vehicles, we're seeing autonomous driving, and obviously new revenue models such as in-vehicle commerce and mobility services. Now, that's the good news. The bad news clearly is that by bringing all of this capability to the vehicle and to the industry at large, inside the car and outside of it, there's an expanded attack surface, and that really means that having strong or stronger cyber security measures isn't a nice to have, it's an essential capability moving forward. Now, in addition to just the changes that are taking place at the kind of higher macro level and even the micro level, we obviously have legislation coming from across the world, whether it's Europe, whether it's India, China, US. And so there's a wide range of legislation that's now being brought to bear to this space for obvious reasons. I mean, clearly governments care about maintaining the security and safety of vehicles and manufacturers. And that, again, is really driving the need to say, hey, look, we need to have capabilities that match these legislation. And also the other changes, obviously things like we talked about in-vehicle payments, but we're going to have secure over-the-air software updates. Now, each car has hundreds of millions of lines of software, even with the best will in the world. It's impossible for manufacturers to get everything right on day one. And so having an ability to safely and securely connect the car to a cloud and let the vehicle then have software updates is something that's going to become really crucial. Now, The FIDO Alliance provides a lot of standards and technologies, as I mentioned. I'm just going to touch on the three key elements that we think are particularly applicable in this space. The first one is passkeys, which many of you may have used today, and they're really phishing-resistant authentication for users and devices. So we're replacing passwords with passkeys. It's a much better user experience, and it's much more secure. Now, that's all about humans. What about devices, electronic devices? Well, we have something called FIDO Device Onboard, FDO, which really securely and automatically onboards devices to their control platform. So it could be an ECU, an engine control unit, to a zone controller, or it could be the vehicle to its cloud. And then last but certainly not least is biometrics, and we're going to hear more from Joel on that. But increasing, we're seeing biometrics inside the vehicle, whether it's as part of a payment system or whether it's really authenticating the driver, as we have fleet management and we want to know who's driving the vehicle so we can set the car appropriately. Now, you can break some of the use cases that we're looking at into four major groups. The first one is in-vehicle commerce, and that would cover things like secure payments for EV charging. It could be parking, it could be fuel, it could be marketplaces. So rather than use your phone, the vehicle itself handles the purchasing of a given service. The second one is really personalized services, so authenticating for driver specific settings. And so it could be your favorite music channels, it could be how you want to charge things, it could be the configuration of the vehicle, as just a few examples. Those are obviously taking place inside the vehicle. What about outside the vehicle? Well, clearly, whether it's a dealer, whether it's a design office, whether it's a factory, workforce authentication is critical. So having passwordless access for employees is something that brings value across an organization in the automotive industry. And then the last one is in the factory, where you're building vehicles. You obviously need to be able to deploy software-defined control systems, whether they're robotics, whether it's AI systems, and being able to do that securely and efficiently is another one. So why at the highest level is FIDO, in our opinion, very interesting for automotive? Well, number one is reducing passwords. And we've talked about that. Traditional passwords are very vulnerable, and they really are a poor user experience. Higher resilience in the industry. There's many reported press articles talking about attacks in the industry. And so really addressing that concern today and moving forward. A better user experience in all areas, whether it's the user of the vehicle or whether it's companies and garages that are having to repair the vehicle. What does FIDO do? Well, number one, the members create new specifications that touch on all the areas I've talked about. Two, we have a very active certification program for different elements, whether it's passkeys, FDO, or biometrics. So this is so that companies can establish that their products fully comply to the standard, and they can also have confidence that when they purchase something, that it's going to meet those requirements. And then the other thing we have is a very active market adoption program, which is really about promoting the work of FIDO members and making sure people know what these technologies can deliver, whether it's users with passkeys or others. So let's just spend a minute, maybe less, talking about how passkeys could be applied or are applied in an automotive environment. So here we have an infotainment system, and the driver says, okay, I want to log into a service. I have a service, it's a cloud, in this case, it's a cloud-based service, and I want to gain access to it. So the first thing that happens is the driver/vehicle makes a request to say, I want to gain access to that service. The second thing that happens is the cloud service needs to establish, is the driver really asking for this? Is someone else trying to pretend to make that request? So they actually send out a request to say, please confirm that you really do want to log into this service. And it could be fingerprint, it could be face, it could be a number of different biometric type solutions, to name just one, on how you would confirm that the driver wants to make this kind of login. And then at that point, effectively, there's going to be the website will issue a challenge to the vehicle to say, all right, prove to me you really are the service that you say you are, and that you really are the vehicle that you say you are, the user that you say they are, I should say. And that's where the power of passkeys come in, because they use basically public key cryptography, which means the vehicle has private keys that are stored there. The cloud has a public key. They're mathematically linked. And so it effectively means that only the owner of the passkey with the private key can actually prove to the cloud that I am who I say I am, and that I therefore am legitimately allowed to access this cloud data. So it provides a great user experience. As you see, it's just a couple of button presses and you're there. You don't need to remember anything, but a very high level of security. And if you looked at it in the payment world, there are multiple moving pieces when it comes to payment, whether it's obviously the consumer themselves, the merchant that's selling the service or the product, the acquirer, the bank, and all of these pieces come together. And that's one of the key points that FIDO is working very actively with all of its members. And you can see just a few of the key ones here to be able to deliver an excellent user experience and a very secure experience when making purchases from a vehicle. With device onboarding, now we're moving away from humans to devices. And here we're showing an industrial computer, but it could be an engine control unit connecting to a zone controller. So this is just a kind of a hypothetical diagram to give you an illustration of what it might be. But there's always that point when the two pieces are talking together. And how do you actually get comfort that the device is what it says it is and the cloud platform really is what it says it is? And again, I say cloud, it could be a solution inside the vehicle rather than the cloud. And what FDO does is it provides a plug and play onboarding, which is very secure and very efficient. So it's fast, highly secure, as I mentioned. It doesn't require skills for the person doing the installation, so you get lower costs. It's obviously an open standard, and it also has some very powerful capabilities with respect to how it operates in the supply chain, which makes it very attractive. And the ecosystem, and I just wanted to give us, I'm sure on passkeys, many of you have seen day in, day out companies that you use taking advantage of passkeys. FDO, you may be a little less aware. So these are just some of the companies with Microsoft, Dell, Lenaro, which is part of the big ARM ecosystem. Exxon, of course, everybody knows Red Hat, the open source software provider, and then organizations like the Wireless Broadband Alliance, all working and delivering solutions around FDO. So now we're just going to go through some of the use cases. I touched on at the very beginning, but I'm going to go a tiny bit deeper. So let's take them one at a time. One of the most obvious ones would be, hey, I've got an app that I use with my vehicle. How do I have secure login to that app? And of course, that fits very well with a passkey type scenario. We talked about in-car purchasing of services, and again, fits very well with a classic kind of implementation around passkeys and FIDO technologies. And then again, we kind of commented on the idea of using biometrics, whether it's part of an overall solution for purchasing services or its configuration of the vehicle. And again, certified biometric solutions. Then let's look across it, maybe in the development office for a car company, or it could be the dealer, or it could be the manufacturing facility where you obviously have folk that have access to critical information. You need to make sure only they have access to that information. Again, passkey authentication. It could be using one of the USB FIDO sticks or a passkey to log into their local service. And then their local server could be onboarded using FIDO device onboard to the cloud. So that would be an obvious example of how you might use it in, say, a dealer. Let's look at the manufacturing facility, and there you've got robots, you may have programmable logic controllers, you may have motion controllers, and they all need to be connected to their local management platform, and that's where FDO would fit in. And then those local servers may connect to a cloud solution. And again, the cloud could be on-prem or off-prem. And again, this would be a perfect example of where FDO can be used. And then inside the vehicle, the last application we'll look at, there you've got, again, components as we move towards autonomous vehicles, software-defined vehicles, instead of seeing dozens upon dozens of low-powered ECUs, we're tending to see fewer higher performance compute systems in a vehicle. And those, again, all need to talk together, often using high performance Ethernet and the like. And what we need is them to be onboarded securely. Obviously, they're onboarded at manufacturer, but for instance, in the future, you may go to a garage and you want to be sure that you're putting in an appropriate replacement product. And again, that's something FDO can deliver. And then the other point, as we said, is that these vehicles need software updates. So being able to onboard the vehicle itself to a cloud so that you can do over-the-air software updates is, again, a classic example where, in this case, the device is the vehicle and the cloud is the management platform that provides the software update. We have a very active certification program, and as I mentioned, this is really giving confidence to manufacturers and those acquiring technologies of interoperability. Will these solutions work together, making sure they achieve the right levels of security, whether it's hardware or software? And we're working to tailor those to the needs of automotive. Obviously, we have it very well established for applications maybe in the consumer space, as an example, but in the case of automotive, there are some differences, obviously, in the in-vehicle environment, and we're working now and very keen to engage with others on polishing that experience for certification to make it even more appropriate for the automotive world. So bringing to a conclusion, why adopt standards? I mean, I did want to kind of touch on this. Many companies may say, hey, we have a lot of engineers. We think we could create our own solutions to all of these problems. Maybe you already have. But I think there's just so much value in having open standards. Number one, they leverage the talent of many, many companies. So however good your engineers, why not bring in the skills of literally what may be dozens of other companies? They adapt to emerging security threats. We've all heard about quantum computing. That's something that FIDO is very actively working on now, so that solutions moving forward will be quantum resilience. Members can actually enhance the standards to try and address new use cases. We talked about certification and the value that brings to everybody in the ecosystem. Almost in any system today, engineers are going to have to get to the point when they're developing a vehicle where they have to do some kind of security analysis. And having a standard where a lot of that work's been done just reduces the risk, reduces the load on the engineer. Software, clearly FIDO itself doesn't deliver software implementations of our standards. We do work for certification, but the standards themselves, the software is available open source or commercial, but that software is maintained by those companies. So you as potentially as a user don't need to do that. You can let the community or your software provider do it. And then the last point I wanted to mention is proprietary systems usually rely on one expert. And if that expert leaves, that obviously generates a void, which can be very hard to fill. So in summary, we talked about passkeys. They really are about reducing risk and the friction associated with passwords. And so really, the way forward is to stop using passwords and adopt passkeys. FDO, we talked about, can be used in vehicle or it can be used in manufacturing to really improve security and simplify the onboarding of devices. Certification is something that's very important, I think, to bring confidence within the industry. These standards can all be extended to meet the needs of particular applications. So if they don't meet the needs today, then the working groups can drive them and adapt them. And then lastly, a couple of points. One, we've gone over here at a very high speed, I appreciate it, but we have a automotive white paper. It's 25 pages long. Please just go to our website, download it, and you'll find a lot more information. And then the last point I wanted to bring you to is biometric certification. And our next speaker is Joel from Theme, who's going to talk about automotive biometric testing. So with that, thank you, Joel.
Thank you, and hi to everyone. So I'm Joel. I work for Theme as advisor, and I specialize in evaluations of biometric systems. So just to place FIM and automotive and the history. So why FIM and Consult Hyperion is because FIM acquires Consult Hyperion 1 year ago for creating a global consulting leader on the consulting, advisory, ideation to implementation and to testing. And for this on the three main domains, which are payments, smart mobilities, and digital identities. And what we are seeing today is biometrics is more and more involved on these areas, and automotive too. Now we have payments in vehicles. It's involved in smart mobility and also in digital identity, for example, for the fleet and so on. So FIM, we work on this to propose services for automotive on the consulting part, for testing platform and testing services. And the goal is to reduce the go-to-market time and to help everyone to have some solutions, including biometrics, which can be secure and with a good user experience. And this is why we're implemented on lots of places in the world to be close to everyone to do the evaluations and the service, the QA for this. So let's dig now more on the biometrics for in-car experience. So in-car experience, Richard told about the white paper of FIDO. We have lots of use cases, and we can not switch, but we can have three main use case is to improve the user experience, is to enhance the security of the driver, and also to put more security on the car. And for this, there is lots of services, including biometrics. You see, it can be, for example, you want to have your seat adjusted, set up for you. So we need to recognize you. We want to open the door if it's you. It's same, it's involved biometrics. We want to pay for fueling, EV charging, parking, command a coffee. So we can use biometrics. And the same for the safety threshold can be used also with biometrics. And of course, to enter the car and to do some checks, it's good to rely on biometrics. And for this, we need to know which biometrics, which modality will be used. We need to know what is the role, how the biometric can help. So what are we seeing today? Today, on the vehicle solutions, we see facial, iris, we see fingerprints, voice, we saw sometimes also a behavioral. And for this, it's always on the three main roles for biometrics. And we see this in automotive, but we see this in many sectors, can be in payment, access control, lots of markets. There is authentication, identification, and identity verification. And it's very important to know well the boundaries between this, because it's not the same way we will do the evaluation and put trust on the systems. So the first is authentication. Is, for example, you want to authenticate for access control on the car to open the door. So it's answer the questions: are you really who you are, who you say you are? And it's a one-one comparison. So there is an enrollment. The template of your biometric is stored securely, and when we approach, there is a verification. And on the verification, there is a match comparison between your biometrics and the biometrics stored during enrollment. It's a one-one. After you have identification solution, so this is answering the who are you, and it's a one-n comparison. It means that you have enrolled many users. It can be fleet, for example, and when you want to access to the service, it will compare your biometrics, your face, for example, with all the templates stored. And there is a ranking returned by the algorithm, and with some threshold, you can decide if you are confident enough to say, okay, I found this is the user 3, for example. And identity verification is answering the questions, can you prove your identity? And this, we are comparing for example, one selfie with the biometrics stored in the official ID document. So here, there is a verification that the ID document is a real one, and that the biometrics stored in the ID document correspond to your biometrics. And this can be also used, for example, for before granting access to rental car vehicles, for example, if we are looking for the use case. So this is what the biometric can do. For this, we need to verify that it's good enough, it works well. So for this, there is certification programs. And today, FIDO complements the automotive industry because FIDO allow some evaluation with accredited lab as a FIM. We are doing a FIM identity verifications evaluations and also biometric component certifications. And for this, there is different test methods. There is performance, PAD, presentation attack detections, and there is metrics. And after you have a report, and you can have after the feedback of FIDO, and you can compare your product and to get some certification. So this is how today it's work and how it can be useful for the automotive. So ready to dig a little more on the technical part. What is the existing biometric coverage with FIDO? So here we have three main things. We have the performance of the systems, meaning that we want to measure the false acceptance rate, to measure the false rejection rate, the failure to acquire, failure to enroll. And we will do this. We will have people coming at the lab. They will test the system, come, enroll, try to match. Second, so this is very useful to test for automotive. Second part is the PAD, presentation attack detection. And for this, the idea is to measure the security and the possibility of the algorithm to detect or the hardware to detect the attack and the spoof. And for this, FIDO has developed different levels. And for each level, we are doing the presentation attack instrument at FIM and measure the IAPAR, imposter attack presentation acceptance rate. And you see here, you have example of some presentation attack instruments. It can be a paper mask, it can be a 3D mask, it can be deep fakes. And for sure, this is very important to be tested because you really don't want that someone come close to your vehicles, grab a picture he found on the social media, on the camera and open the door. So the security is very important on this. And the certification allow you to have an idea about the resistance of this kind of attacks. So this is what is in place. But automotive is very specific and there is some conditions which could be adapted, tuned for the evaluation. And this is why there is a group to think, a working group at FIDO to think about the delta specific for automotive. And the idea is to create a kind of profile to test and to ensure the good user experience and the good security for the specific use cases of automotive. So this is an example of items that could be discovered as necessary for an automotive profile for FIDO certification. So for us, there will be three main areas. The specific context conditions of the vehicles, the specific metrics we need compared to the use case, and the need of adapted biocard levels for automotive. First is the automotive context condition. So it's not the same when we are testing the use case to enter on the car than when you test your unlocking on your mobile phone. On the car, you can have the light condition very specific, weather condition. Can be you can have fog, you can have rain, you can have multimodal solutions, and also the way of the camera, for example, for the facial is set up not as the same as the access control for doors, for example. You can have a camera on the mirrors, so the way you approach the car is important. People can be behind you, so there is a specific environment, and this need to be tested. If it is not tested in real condition, then you will have surprise on the field. Second is the biometric metrics. For example, we talk about driver identification metrics. So it's interesting to know the F-peer, F-near, the false positive identification rate, for example. If someone is not enrolled on the list of all the potential users, we really want that the door will be still be blocked, even if the biometrics approach someone, but we need to have the correct threshold to reject if it's not the good person. And the last is the biocard level limits. For example, if you are already in the car and you want to have your setup on the seat setup or to access to the glove box, maybe inside the car you will have some sensors for some modalities in biometrics, but it's not very a big deal if it's not exactly very secure. Just your seat won't be at the good positions, but to enter the car, this is very important, and we don't really need the same level. So one idea is to have biocard levels adapted for each group of automotive use case. So this has kind of ideas about how evaluations can be done in the lab as FIM. And in the lab, we have some experience with previous product using biometrics. One example can be the banking. So if we want to do the parallels with the payment industry, in fact, we see that there is the similar needs. We need security, we need interoperability, we need that people adopt user adoption and to be in line with the regulation and compliance. We want frictionless solutions. We want people use this without with good adoption. So the idea is to use the experience for the evaluations on this kind of industry to do the parallels and accelerate this kind of setup for the new evaluations for automotive, specifically in biometrics. So now let's go deeper and let's imagine that you come into a lab. How a lab will help, how FIM can help you for evaluating your product. So first, the help can be in the 3DT, can be to help you to define, to design, to deliver, to do QA, to do a benchmark about the provider, the sensor providers, and at the end, to test your product as an independent lab and to provide reports useful for having a FIDO certification. So this is how it happened. And when you go on the testing, we will have a workshop, and it's important to have the test scope definition. For example, to say where you want to deploy your car, which kind of people will use it, and to know the specific conditions and how to do the connection with the test benches. And then we'll do the evaluations and give you a report. So an example. So here is a slide for an example of a testing we have done for automotive some months ago. So the request was to have a market study about the different solutions, to do an in-car payments ecosystem overview, to facilitate the way we can pay when we are in the car. Also, we work to do a study for the use of facial recognition in the car. And we have done evaluations in real-life conditions. So here is our parking at FIM. And we have set up a tent. And inside, we put lots of lights to reproduce some conditions we'll have in a real. There is lots of people coming in the car. There is to the biometric, the back seats, also to reproduce the real conditions and to have a matrix in line with what is expected for a car. And we work also for the bias detection because demographic is very specific, and we work for the pad, and it was very interesting. And we have another project, and we are happy to continue and to do other testing in this kind of area and to provide feedback about the important things to test to ensure the security and the user experience in testing. So thanks. And now I will leave the place for Andrew from General Motors.
Thank you, Joel. Really excited to be with everyone. My name is Andrew Cameron. I am the lead technologist for identity and access management at General Motors. I have my hand in most everything from an identity and security perspective when it comes to basically enabling secure experiences, whether that's for our enterprise services or anything that touches our customers. Today, I just want to just kind of present a picture around the key services from an automotive manufacturer that we provide today to our customers, and where our engagement with FIDO is. We're excited about the opportunity to be able to bring the optimal secure experiences to what we already provide for our customers, and pretty much anything that evolves around a customer experience strategy. Typically, the discussion will always start with identity, right? It's the first thing that you as a customer engage with when you purchase a vehicle. It's the first thing that gives you the sensation of being excited to jump in a new vehicle and engage with all of the exciting services that are being provided. And so it's really critical to not only make what we do secure, but it's always really important to understand that not only are we responsible for the security aspect of it, but there is a services-based experience that we're trying to make sure that we can secure, and the amount and type of services that we want to be able to provide to our customers evolves every day, right? There's different services that get offered every day, whether it's in the vehicle, whether it's in our mobile app. And so this is just a snapshot, kind of the things that are on our radar of things that will matter as we bring more security experiences in the vehicle. And most definitely, everything starts with our mobile app. It is one of the first things that when you buy a vehicle, you engage with our mobile app. You do all of the fun things around authentication. You establish a minimum level of personal information, and then being engaged in that mobile app experience is something that you then take into the vehicle, and being able to bring passwordless technologies around that experience is really a top priority, and that's why it's so important to take advantage of all of the work that has been done around passkeys, and to be able to take advantage of all of the industry mileage around passkeys to this point, to be able to make that a seamless transition from what everyone is doing today, to be able to enable in-vehicle experiences based on the same set of technologies, right? And so it's really important that not only our mobile app, but all the experiences in the vehicle are able to take advantage of those same benefits. So we have things like our digital retail platform, which is we have a robust dealer community, and we have a lot of services that we provide to our dealers to help bring their engaged customers and be able to establish initial contact points with their customers, and to be able to allow them to create accounts and to do demo-like experiences, to do test drives and things like that. And so we have a digital retail platform that is very heavily integrated with our identity services, and to be able to bring secure, the earlier that we can establish a level of trust with our customers when they make a first contact in our dealerships, when they make a first contact in our brand sites, the earlier that we can establish that relationship with them, the better that we'll be, and the better their experiences will be downstream. We also have things, our OnStar service is very well known, and we also have OnStar services for our fleet communities, for our business-to-business relationships. And so we have a number of services that engage with users through our B2B relationships. And so things like our OnStar Vehicle Insights are also services that we provide secure interactions for, and they're also things that would benefit from moving towards passwordless technologies, right? And I don't need to really go too deep into the vehicle infotainment piece of it. It is sort of the primary experience that users get when they engage with our vehicles. And I would even venture to say that the info part of infotainment is even more important than the entertainment part of it, because protecting and managing the customer's personal information is of a paramount importance, and we want to make sure that we don't allow a malicious actor access to any of the customer's information. So making the vehicle infotainment experience as secure as possible, and being able to leverage all of the benefits of our secure technologies that we bring to the table is also critically important. Obviously, and Joel just covered all of the opportunities around enabling payments and e-commerce. We have a robust parts and accessories services available that we have dealers and customers engage with. Being able to bring secure experiences around our e-commerce platforms, obviously very critical. It also, folks like me, GM employees, also engage through vehicle purchase programs. It's also, we use that as sort of a test bed to be able to gauge how customer experiences would be perceived to the public. And so being able to bring those experiences and let our vehicle purchase program take advantage of that for employees is also something that we would like to be able to take advantage of. And then obviously we have external partners. We have things like OnStar Insurance. We have a number of external partners that we engage with that also bringing a secure identity experience ends up being like really critical, and being able to leverage the expertise and all of the knowledge in the FIDO community to be able to leverage that from a standards perspective ends up being really critical. So what are those secure experiences, right? What are those ways that we bring these leading security technologies to our customers? So obviously I talked about our mobile app and how important it is to secure personal information across those apps. There's different contexts that our customers engage with. It could be through a watch, it could be their mobile app, it could be in the vehicle. Right? So those are ways that, from an experience perspective, you need to make sure that there's a seamless transition from your watch to your mobile app to in the vehicle. And being able to securely validate, not only allow a customer to authenticate themselves, but these experiences now need to be able to provide a seamless revalidation, right? Whether it's a biometric prompt or whether it's validating a passkey. There are a number of ways to be able to revalidate someone, and as we transition away from password-based experiences, leveraging a passkey-based experience or leveraging a non-password experience is going to be really important in being able to provide that optimal customer experience. Onboarding customers also has a huge benefit, being able to provide a seamless but secure onboarding experience, whether you're in a dealership, whether you are signing up from one of our brand sites, being able to bring a secure experience, but also an account recovery experience, right? There's people lose phones, people lose their devices. We need to be able to bring secure biometric validation to when people actually reestablish their accounts, and being able to work with and make sure that we leverage the most available FIDO standards is going to be key to being able to provide the document experience around that. We have a robust rewards platform. Being able to allow enrollment, validation of rewards features is something that's really critical from a customer perspective, and making sure that we can provide the most secure authentication and validation experiences when people are leveraging the rewards program. That's going to be really, really important, really key in how we move this forward. We've talked about payments. Joel covered it, Richard covered it as well. FIDO is doing a lot of work around creating payment-related standards that we, as implementers, will be able to take advantage of, and bringing those experiences into the vehicle, bringing them in a way that allows the customer to leverage what they've already established and not have to go through additional validations. Excuse me, is really important as well, and being able to extend and build your applications in a way that leverages these standards without having to do a lot of rework, something that as implementers that we also appreciate and that we get by engaging with FIDO standards community that are building solutions and building products that we can leverage that are already have a validation and a certification that have gone through FIDO-based programs. So those are all of the things that we see from a customer perspective that are hugely beneficial. Thanks for the opportunity. I'll turn it back over to Richard. So I'm going to jump in. I think Richard might be having some audio difficulties. What he wanted to say is that he wanted to make sure that there was awareness of the automotive special interest group. And as GM, being a new member of FIDO, we're really excited for being able to participate in the automotive SIG. Obviously, Richard mentioned the white paper that was socialized earlier. So really excited about what has transpired so far and being able to engage with the community to bring great solutions to our customers as well. And obviously, the more the merrier when it comes to this. So FIDO was actually keen on welcoming companies to come in and share their experiences on engaging with the automotive certification profiles and to be able to bring those experiences back to its members and the members be able to share that with their customers. So that's a note that Richard wanted to bring in as a housekeeping item. And I'm sure he would have said it a lot better than I did, but I just want to jump in and cover that for him. So Adrienne, did we want to move to Q&A?
So I think we're just going to wrap here. So I'm just going to say thank you to everybody for making time to join us for this webinar today. We will be sending the recording to everyone via email, so keep an eye out for that. You're welcome to come back and rewatch at any time. We'll also post it to the FIDO Alliance website in our media library. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us at marketing@fidoalliance.org. We'd be happy to connect with you there and answer you there. And yeah, thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you to our speakers as well.